Hi everybody, welcome to the Joliet Junior College City Center campus here in downtown Joliet. This is where our beautiful culinary arts facility is located within the City Center campus. It's 96,000 square feet of commercial kitchen space, baking labs, 2 restaurants, indoor ice carving facility, indoor climate controlled butchering lab, chocolate and sugar lab that's humidity controlled. An amazing place, no other place like it on the planet. And we're going to have you take a tour with us today and walk through and see some of the spaces, meet some of the great instructors that we have, and really hear a lot about what makes Joliet Junior College really an incredible place to be. Here in the City Center campus, you're going to see kitchens on 5 stories of the building. There's only 6 floors here. The 6th floor is our library and our testing services, but the other 5 floors have beautiful kitchens that are incredible to see and even better to be in to learn your classes and your cooking and baking and techniques. So in this facility right now, we're going to take a tour, but we're going to start by going up and meeting our manager of the facility, who's also a graduate of the program, who's also our culinary recruiter. And Ashley Conklin is great. It's great to have somebody who went through the program and really knows it intimately as a student. But in Ashley's time taking it a little while ago, it was before we moved into this beautiful building that's just a couple years old right now. So Ashley got to see the old campus, and now she gets to work in the beautiful campus today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw this back up to you, Ashley, and while you're talking to them for a couple minutes, I'm going to take a tour down to the ice carving lab, and I'll see you there in a few minutes. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Chef. We're so excited to welcome everyone to our virtual open house. My name's Ashley. I went through the program many years ago. Being a JJC alum, I was able to do the culinary arts degree, and then I also did the hospitality management degree. It really helped me get my foot in the door with a lot of jobs in the industry. And when this job opened up here, recruiting for our culinary arts department, I applied for it, and I've been working here since this beautiful campus has been opened. We're gonna head over to Chef McGrill in the ice carving lab and see what he's got going on.
Hey Ashley, thanks a lot. We are here right now in our ice carving lab at Joliet Junior College in our culinary arts program. This is an amazing room. I don't think you'll find another place like this at all in the world in a culinary arts program. This ice carving lab was designed with the same kind of a heating and air conditioning system that an ice skating rink would have. And so it takes all the humidity out of the air, so our ice stays nice and shiny and doesn't melt very quick. We come in this room, we flip a switch, the room gets down to a very comfortable, very cool, maybe I should say, no pun intended, 50 degrees. And so for us, we just need a light jacket that keeps us dry, really not even to keep us necessarily warm, and then we can carve on our ice. This piece of ice here weighs about 400 pounds, and you can see I've already pre-cut some of it with my chainsaw just to kind of make this a quicker example of how we decorate ice. So I think you could probably just understand that we're making an angelfish today, or like any kind of a sea fish. We have some material back here that could be a plant, or it could be seaweed, it could be coral, it could be anything like that. So what I do is I shaped it only with a chainsaw at this point, cut all the parts out with the chainsaw. So because that's kind of loud and takes a little more time, I just did that in about 10 minutes before you got here. And now what I'll do is show you how we're going to detail it with our tools. So I have tools like this here. This is pretty neat, and it's like a chisel, but it's got a lot of little pointy blades on it. And this tool is really kind of fun because I can take it and shape down the squareness of the fish or the carving and kind of get a little more detail into it. You can see, right, I can make it a little more curved. I can take off a little bit of that flatness to it and just kind of get a little shape to it. Or we can switch over to some of our power tools. And I'll put my safety glasses on for those, safety first, right? And what we're gonna do is with my power tools, this is kind of like a giant drill, and it's called an angle grinder. And what we'll do is we have a cone sander in here. So instead of a flat piece of sandpaper you might use on a piece of wood, this cone sander will sand by spinning, and as it spins, it can get into little nooks and crannies where a big piece of sandpaper on an electric sander, I wouldn't be able to do that kind of thing. So let's see if I can start to shape a little bit with this too. Notice how I can actually kind of curve the ice too and get some really dimension into it. Keeping my shape of my fish on there, but making his fin maybe have a little more dramatic look to it. And like I was saying, the curved shape of that allows me to get in here like parts like this where maybe I want to sand between the fish to make it look more 3D and like it stands out. I can put the tip in there and then get that more separated 3D look to my ice carving. We can use this to make his lips. Right? Round off the bump here. And then maybe take the hard edge off those to make them a little more rounded. We can actually make his gills with that too if we want. And notice, because I'm plunging in, I can keep the gill looking like it overlaps his body a little bit, right? Make it, again, a little more 3D. All right, let's switch over to a different tool. This tool is actually another angle grinder like that. But this one I have a V-bit. So a V-bit's almost like a bow and arrow type of an arrowhead. So it cuts on two sides, real sharp. And I can make all my details with this one. Make my lines of my seaweed. Right, I can make my fins. Right, we need a nice big fish eye. And then we'll make some scales. A little more seaweed down there. I think that looks pretty nice. I'm going to grab a hose and we're just going to give it a little water. And let's see what happens when I use some water to shine it up. Notice how the water really makes it look like clear glass now, right? It gets rid of the frost and the snow left behind from the tool. I think that's a pretty nice angelfish ice carving, huh? So just in a few minutes, we're able to take this 400-pound piece of ice, cut all the basic shape out with our chainsaw, maybe 10 or 15 minutes. Another 10 minutes or so, we'd put our details on it. So in about 20 minutes to a half an hour, we have a beautiful buffet centerpiece we could put out on a nice seafood table for a wedding reception or some kind of a big event. And this piece of ice might sell for $400, $500, but it only cost me, for the block, cost me about $80. So the profit's pretty good for a half hour's worth of work. So that's our ice carving. I hope you liked it today in our beautiful ice carving lab. Ashley, I'm throwing it back up to you, and I'm going to put on my chef coat and maybe go see you in one other kitchen here on campus. See you in a little bit.
Thanks, Chef McGrill. Ice carving is such a cool elective to be able to offer our students here at the college. Students can choose from many electives, and one of them would be cookies, which they would do a whole course on learning different types of cookies. One of our past alumni actually did ice carving, and she does ice carving and wedding cakes. So she can offer those services to different venues and do both. Let's head back to Chef McGrill and see where he's heading now.
Well, Ashley, here we are on the 5th floor of our beautiful state-of-the-art facility. This is our production kitchen. Stainless steel from end to end, everything's gorgeous. And in this kitchen right now, you're gonna meet a very talented chef instructor. This is an instructor that students will have for their very first day of class. Chef Ken Thompson uses this production lab to teach his entry-level cooking, production, where they learn everything, all the cooking techniques, knife skills, everything. So you're gonna see Chef Thompson do a special dish today for you, and I'd like to introduce Chef Ken Thompson. Chef?
Thank you so much, Chef McGrill. So today what we're gonna do is we're gonna make some homemade fresh extruded pasta. So this is a really nice pasta machine, maybe something you don't have at the house, but something we definitely incorporate here during your education. What I have inside the machine right now is equal parts of semolina flour, bread flour, eggs, salt, and a little bit of water. I have mixed this, let the machine mix it for about 5 minutes until it's about the size of small coffee beans. Unlike pasta that you do in a traditional method where you're going to roll it out using a rolling pin or a hand crank roller, this needs to be a little bit drier because it's going to be forced through this die at the front. And for today's pasta demo, I've chosen to do spaghetti. I just love spaghetti, and I thought it'd be a nice presentation for our final dish. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push start, and I have already pre-mixed the pasta. So I'm going to go to extrude. I'll push the start button, and inside here, this is mixing, continuing to mix the dough, and there is a spiral, what's called a worm inside of here, and it forces the pasta through the die. So this will continue to work through here until it extrudes out. It might take a couple minutes, but you start to see that it forces the pasta through the machine. You're going to continue to let this extrude out until you have the proper length that you want. For today's exercise, what I want to do is I want to have it about the size that you would have from a home box of pasta. So like any sort of brand name pasta you'd have. And as many times as I've seen this a lot as I've been here. Prior to here, I'd never seen this before. But every time I see this, I really think this is probably one of the coolest things I've ever seen. So it's going to be about the consistency of like a Play-Doh or a soft dough. And what I've done on my sheet pan is I've taken semolina flour and I've coated the sheet pan to make sure that we keep the pasta so it's separated. So when I go to cook it, it doesn't stick together. So I have extruded it to the length that I want. I'm going to take a knife and I'm going to run it right along the face of that die. And I'm going to take this, I'm going to fold it over my hands, I'm going to wrap it around, I'm going to set it on top of the sheet pan, and then I'm going to dust it with a little additional semolina flour to make sure it doesn't stick together while I'm making the rest of the dish. So now I'm going to move to the stove, and for today what I'm going to make is I'm going to make a spaghetti with a brown butter sauce, and what I've decided to do is I would like to focus on plant-forward cuisine for right now. You can absolutely add other proteins to it, such as beans and meat, but for today I'm going to have a brown butter sauce, fresh arugula, roasted butternut squash. I also have in order to keep it plant forward, I have a mushroom stock, and then I have some Aleppo chili, which is a type of crushed red pepper that they've taken and dried and crushed. It's a little bit spicier than jalapeno, but not as spicy as the traditional crushed red pepper, usually used in Mediterranean cuisine, and traditionally, like in Syria, you'll find that crushed red pepper. So cooking fresh pasta only takes about 1.5 minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start my sauce. What I have is I have a little bit of butter, and all this is we always use unsalted butter in professional kitchens. That way I can control how much salt goes in there, no matter how much I really want. So I'm going to take some of this butter, put it into a pan over medium heat. And while that's what I want to do is I want to cook this butter in the pan until it starts to turn brown. It's going to smell like toasted hazelnuts or toasted nuts. It's going to turn light brown and foamy. So while that's cooking over medium-low heat, I'm going to take a bundle of my pasta, and I'm going to add that to my boiling salted water. My other component I'm going to add to this is I have some fresh, finely minced garlic. That always goes along with all Mediterranean cuisine. So that always, I love garlic. You can't get enough of that. So I'm going to continue to move this around, and this doesn't take very long. And you really want to make sure that you keep that heat about medium level, and you're looking for the butter solids to turn a light golden brown like a toast. The butter also starts to foam a little bit when it's ready. Prior to the foaming stage, I'm going to add a little bit of my garlic to the pan. The amount of garlic you're putting in there really depends on your personal preference. I like a lot of garlic, but I think for this one I'm going to cut back just a little bit maybe. So I'm getting to that stage. The butter is popping a little bit. So now I'm going to add my garlic to the pan. And you can really, that garlic, because it's such small pieces, does not take very long to cook. So now we have that really nice garlic aroma to the butter. My pasta is almost done. Give it a little bit of a shake for a minute. And then it's starting to foam. And I think on the TV monitors you can see it starts to be a little bit foamy. I'm going to add to that my fresh arugula. And it's going to pop a little bit, so do be careful as you're adding you could use spinach or arugula to this. I'm going to add some a good squeeze of fresh lemon juice to that. I'm going to put in there my mushroom stock. And that's about 2 ounces of mushroom stock. I'm also going to add to that my roasted butternut or acorn squash. Lost a couple pieces, those are going to go right in. My pasta's done cooking, so I'm going to go ahead and take that out of the water, put that in with my arugula and my squash. I'm going to give that a good toss. And at this point, I'm just looking to make sure everything is hot. So everything is fully cooked, my sauce is already ready to go, and I want to add a little bit of salt to this, a little bit of fresh ground black pepper, I'm gonna incorporate that by tossing it in the pan. And then we're ready to plate. So I have my, my warm plate, and I'm gonna take my tongs, and I'm going to twist my spaghetti in with the arugula and the squash. I'm gonna put that in the middle of my plate. I'm gonna top it with all this beautiful squash garnish. And we don't wanna lose any of the nice, delicious arugula and squash, because that's really my focal point on my dish. We're gonna add to that, to help provide a little bit of protein to our dish. We have roasted walnuts. All I've done is I've taken walnut halves. I've toasted them in an oven until they smell really nice and roasty toasty. So I'm going to take a good portion of these roasted walnuts and put it on top of the dish. Here I have some fresh grated Parmesan cheese. And I don't know about you, I don't know if I can never have enough cheese. So we're going to go ahead and add a little more cheese to the dish. Here I have my Aleppo chilies, and they're really nice and bright, vibrant color. And I like a little bit of spice to my finished dish, so I'm going to add that. And then, as always, we're going to make sure we have a nice clean plate, so we'll wipe the rim of the plate. And there we have it, our finished dish. At home, if you're going to make this, you can always use boxed pasta. You can try making your own pasta. And we have a really nice, beautiful pasta extruder here. But don't hesitate to make your own rolled pasta, and you can do the same thing by making hand-cut pappardelle or linguine or whatever kind of pasta works best for you. You can also add to this dish, if you'd like to add some additional protein that's not meat-based, you can also add pre-cooked beans like a white cannelloni bean or a white kidney bean, some garbanzo beans, and I thought would be really great. Or maybe it's some additional like mushrooms, other vegetables to the dish. So I hope you enjoy your tour and the rest of the day, and thank you very much for being here to see our beautiful facility at Joliet Junior College. Thank you very much.
Wow, that is an amazing dish, Chef. Thanks so much for doing that. This is something that I think I might be ordering today for lunch if you're taking orders to go.
I think I have one ready to go.
All right, great. Well, thanks everybody. Now we're gonna take a little break and take a tour of our kitchen. Hold on one more minute. Let me set myself up for that. Thanks again, Chef. It was really wonderful.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Hey Ashley, here we are in the beautiful 5th floor production kitchen. Like I was saying, this kitchen here is gorgeous. All the freshman students start their very first day up in this kitchen. Imagine walking in brand new first day into school, and you walk up to this beautiful stove. This is your station as a brand new student. One student will have these burners, this flat top, the grill, the broiler, the ovens, the refrigerators, pots and pans. One person. The next person is down here. And then 2 more on that side. So 4 people cooking around this whole thing. Where are the other students? Come on, let me show you. Here's 4 more here, right? 2 on this side, 2 on that side. All your own pots and pans. You don't share any of this stuff. This is a brand new, beautiful, shiny kitchen. We look here, we have walk-in refrigerators and freezers. We have our own dish room over here. Oh, we're not done. Come on this way. Here's a whole nother side of the kitchen. And again, we look at 4 students at this station, 4 students at this station, their own refrigerators, their own stoves, ovens, everything. So talk about fully equipped, beautiful kitchen. And then up in front, here's your instructor station. You saw Chef Thompson doing his pasta demo with his technology and TVs up above. You can see all of his cooking equipment and things here, and all of his big commercial equipment back here. The students get to sit up here and really watch him while he cooks and cuts and does all of his great dishes for them and teaches them how to do the same things. Pretty amazing space. Ashley, we're gonna go back to you, and I'm gonna head to another spot on the college campus. See you soon.
Chef, that pasta looks fantastic. Here at the college, we have 2 student-run restaurants that are open to the public. We serve a variety of different dishes, everything from the chicken that's on the plate The stock that's in the soup is handmade and fabricated by our students. Nothing is brought in pre-made. Thrive is our restaurant that's downstairs that you guys will get to see a little bit later. And then we have Savour, which is upstairs. Both of those restaurants are run by our second-year students. They're a really great opportunity for students to get real-world experience in our industry and also still be learning while they're doing it. We're gonna head down to Chef McGrill. He's down in Thrive. Hey, Chef, who do you have there with you?
Well, Ashley, I'm delivering on a promise. We're in a beautiful facility today. This is our Thrive restaurant, one of our 2 restaurants here at this campus. And this is an incredible place where students not only learn the back of the house cooking and baking and butchering and all that great stuff, they also learn the front of the house where it's customer service and kind of getting over that stress of having to talk to people. Good skills on the front, good skills on the back, 2 things that are really going to make you successful in this industry. I'm really excited to introduce our professor that teaches this front of the house management classes, all the things that have to do with management and business. That's Professor Eric Bell, an incredible instructor. Eric, come on in. I want you to meet our group that's here for our tour today. Eric Bell.
Welcome everyone. My name is Professor Eric Bell. We're super excited to have you here today, spend a little bit of time getting to know us here in our Culinary Arts Management program and the staff that are here at our beautiful City Center campus at Joliet Junior College. This is our beautiful Thrive restaurant. This is one of 2 of the student-run restaurants that we have here at our City Center campus. So we really kind of think it's important through your educational process, you're going to spend time in the front of the house and in the back of the house learning employee functions. But we also think it's important to start developing some of your managerial skills. And so you'll spend some time working in the restaurants and kind of sharpening those managerial skills also. We also think it's really important to start helping you develop what we call your personal skills or your professional skills, or your skills that are going to really make you successful going farther forward in life. And we want you to do that so that you can become really good chefs and really good managers, and then potentially even becoming owners in restaurants. So we've designed our curriculum here so that it's very hands-on. We really think that it's important, for you to get the knives in your hands and get the pans in your hands and to start to cook and start to learn how to do those things. We really feel that that's the best way for you to learn. And then we also feel that that's really the best way for us to prepare you to be successful in the industry as you move forward. So I think about how exciting this industry is, and it takes me back to one of the first restaurants that I ever worked at. I think I was about 16 years old and I was bussing tables. And there was a customer that came in that was just really, really angry, and he just had this look on his face like he was just not happy. And so he sat down with his family members and they were talking, and he was just kind of sitting there being quiet. And about halfway through the meal, he started to kind of change, the look in his face started to soften a little bit, and he started talking to the people that were there. And, and so by the time he was done eating, his personality had totally changed. He became really engaging and kind of the life of the party. He was talking to the people that were there. And I started to think about when he came in, he was really unhappy. And then when he left, he was really happy. And we really played a major part in that. We changed his emotional thought process from being angry to being really super happy. And I think that's a really powerful thing for us to have the ability to kind of change people's thought process, to change people's emotional sort of ideas and how they feel. And, I used that when I was running restaurants to motivate me to really try to always focus on making sure that the customer was really, really happy. And then at the same time, as I became an educator, I really kind of felt like it was important that I told my students that, so that they really, when they went out into the world and started working, they would do the same thing, really focus on making people really, really happy. So let me give you some statistics. So we're a huge industry. There's over 1 million restaurants in the United States. In the state of Illinois alone, there's 27,000. The revenues are staggering. $800 billion in annual sales. That's $2.2 billion in daily sales. From 2018 to 2019, there was a 3.9% increase in the number of restaurants. We're the second largest provider of employment in the United States. That's 15.6 million people that work in restaurants in the United States. What does that mean? That means that you're going to come to school here, and when you graduate, you're going to have no problem finding a job. It is really, really easy for you to do that. Our industry is starving for really, really good, qualified employees to come in and to really, get their careers going and become really successful in their careers. Where can you work? So, there's restaurants everywhere in the world. You can go to Italy, you can go to the Caribbean, you want to go to California. Obviously, in this area, city of Chicago, there's plenty of restaurants there. You can work in restaurants if you want to. I think as we grew up in the industry, we kind of felt like it was important that we, went into restaurants and worked. But there's other places you can work also. You can go into hotel food service. You can go into bakeries. You can do casinos. You can work on cruise lines. You can do food science if you're interested in creating recipes. You can go into corporate dining. You can do educational feeding. You can go into hospitals and work in those facilities. You can go into education. You can go into research and development. So there's a lot of places for you to work. Our chef instructors here really have a lot of experience, over 250 years of experience in the industry. We have a chef on staff that has won 38 international gold medals in cooking competitions. We have a newly certified master chef. There's only 66 of those in the world. We have a chef that is a spring bake-off champion on the Food Network. We have a chef that is also the captain of the U.S. baking team. We have an executive chef on staff that has over 20 years of executive chef experience in multiple country clubs in the area. We also have chefs that are owners. We have chefs that are board of directors. We have chefs that are consultants in the industry. What about the facility? So this is a $52 million state-of-the-art facility. We have 10 kitchens. We have 2 student-run restaurants. We have a lot of scholarships available for you. You can come here if you're serious and you're focused and you take full-time classes. You can be done with your associate's degree in 2 years. So we invite you. We want you to come down. We want to prepare you for jobs in the industry. We want to get you ready, and we want to prepare you to be successful in culinary arts. So thank you very much, and have a wonderful day.
That's awesome. Eric, thank you so much. Professor Bell is an amazing instructor here. His knowledge and experience he brings in for the management front end of the operation is really just an incredible asset for the students to be able to get that knowledge. So you got to hear about the industry from Professor Bell. You got to hear him talk that we're in this beautiful restaurant. You want to take a tour? All right, give me a second. We're going to take you a tour through the front of the house here, through our private dining room, and then in the back kitchen too, where you're going to meet another one of our incredible instructors. Be right back. Well, here we are, beautiful Thrive restaurant here at the Joliet Junior College City Center campus in our incredible culinary arts facility. You can see that there's tables here along the street windows, which are beautiful. You can see at night, it's all really pretty lit up at nighttime too, which is great. This restaurant here is open on this semester on Wednesdays during the day, Thursdays during the night, and then the other days, the chef is teaching them the menu. So you're learning first from a certified master chef, the 66th in the world, how to make the food and bake the breads and things like that. And then you get actually to serve it to the public. And then Professor Bell's students out here, they actually take care of the dining room management and serve the customers out here. Beautiful china. This was actually donated from Steel Light China. Their glassware, flatware, and china are stunning for the restaurant industry. And we're lucky enough to be a partner with them. As we walk through here, you can see our dining room looks over the kitchen. And so you can see in the back, there's people working there. So the students actually get to watch the customers get to watch the students while they're cooking. And then there's TV monitors up above that while they're cooking, we can actually see the students on the pizza oven or cooking on the stove. So kind of cool that mom and dad, husband, wife, friends could be out here dining and say, let me watch somebody in the kitchen, Joe in the kitchen or Mary in the kitchen. Let me see what they're doing. And they can ask Professor Bell, can you turn the TV on my son or my spouse or whatever? And they can watch them in the kitchen in action. Then we'll go over to this side here. This is our private dining room here. The private dining room is really cool because it gives you a little more intimate space. It has doors that close, glass doors, so you still don't feel totally closed in because of the glass lets the sunlight in. but it gives you a nice private space for maybe a group or a birthday party or a bridal shower, things like that. But our students, again, learn to do events and activities in this space. Behind this, we have all craft beers and wines from around the world. Students also learn about beverage management in here, which is pretty cool, that they're not just learning cooking, they're not just learning baking, and we heard from Professor Bell about the management theory stuff that they learn, but now they also learn about successful beverage management on top of it. They learn all about the craft brewing industry, and they learn about all the different varietals of wine and how to pair food, wine, and spirits. This is a pretty cool cabinet here. You can see it's dark, it's kind of sleeping right now. This is a cabinet that we can put in herbs in here in just organic soil, and in 5 days we're harvesting all of our microgreens, fresh herbs, and things like that. So these ones that are on this tray right here, they're in the dark because the first day or two, they like to be in darkness. That allows the seed to actually germinate, to start popping out of the soil. Then we flip the light on. 3 to 4 days later, we're clipping fresh microherbs, greens, things like that. So we have it fully organic, grown in-house, and we grow whatever we need every week, which is pretty helpful. Now, let's go into the kitchen. You're gonna love this space. Talk about a beautiful kitchen. Every chef wants their own kitchen to be shiny and beautiful and intimate, but still where they can command the stage. That's the kitchen we have here. Come on with me. This is a private guided tour. We're gonna go into the kitchen. This part here, you can see they have their own dish room and dish machine. So the students learn about safety and sanitation, which is really important. I know we think we're gonna come to culinary school, I'm not gonna wash dishes or clean floors or tables or things like that. But as a restaurant chef or an owner, that stuff's important to me, as important as serving food, right? Or serving beverage. So our students have to learn how to run the dish machine, service the dish machine, make sure plates are clean and sanitized because we wanna keep our customers safe and happy, and we want to make sure that everything is safely served. All right, we have a prep area in the back there, and then we have a beautiful space up in here. This kitchen is to die for. This is a kitchen that, it's a French-style island suite. We saw these in one of our other kitchens, but here, all the students will work around the island suite. The chef stays at that end of it, so it's like an orchestra conductor. The chef can actually dictate and call out food and see every plate as it comes to the front of the kitchen. The chef gives it a final inspection, maybe wipes the rim, makes sure it looks beautiful, sends it out to the customer and to the front of the house management students. Our students learn to be the chef too, so they have to rotate through that front of the house or that front chef position with a really talented instructor, Master Chef Tim Bucci. In this kitchen, you're gonna meet Master Chef Tim Bucci and his lab assistant, Lloyd Wright. Together, they do incredible things here, teach students incredible meals and great techniques to make them successful in the industry. You want to meet Chef Bucci? Come on this way.
Thank you, Chef McGrill. My name is Chef Bucci. I'm one of the instructors here at Joliet Junior College, and I am in the restaurant called Thrive, where I have my restaurant class on Wednesday and Friday night. I'm going to demonstrate how we make our calzone. I've already made a pizza for you, and these are both on our current menu. So I'm going to come over here. We have our dough already ready to go. It's very light, and we're gonna drop this in a fine semola, or it's a fine semolina. Now, when we make our pizza here, we have a really nice brick oven, and what we wanna do is we wanna be able to keep all this air, all this gas in our pizza crust to make a really nice puffy crust on the edges. We're gonna start stretching, rounding and stretching the dough, and create a nice rim. And we want to keep all the gas in that rim so it puffs up, and it's going to really taste really nice and light and fresh like baked bread. So at that point, we have a nice rim. We're going to go ahead and start stretching our dough and pushing more of the gas to the edge. Okay, so once we get about a 11-inch round, then we're going to start building our calzone. Now, we're going to take our San Marzano tomato sauce. And these are plum tomatoes from Italy. They taste great, low acid, really nice meaty tomato. And then we're going to add a little bit of fresh torn basil. So this is our calzone that's currently on our menu. And then we have some braised kale. And this kale is braised with olive oil, garlic, onions, a little bit of chili flake. And we're going to add some really nice light ricotta. Some provolone. And a slice of fresh mozzarella. Now this mozzarella is typically for pizza. It's a little bit drier than the mozzarella that you'll see in most stores. A little bit of garlic flavored oil, black pepper. And now we're gonna fold it. We're gonna fold this kind of like a turnover or an empanada. And then we wanna press it to seal it. Now, the one thing that we do a little bit differently here with our calzones is that we're going to stretch it, just let it fall, let it hang. And we want to kind of create about a half of a pizza shape. A little hole to let the steam out. And then we're going to build another little pizza. It's like a bonus pizza on this calzone, so we don't have a lot of crust that's possibly uncooked. A little bit of torn basil. Love that fresh taste of the basil. Another piece of fresh mozzarella. And some more garlic oil. And black pepper. All right, this is coarse, fresh ground black pepper. And we're gonna take our pizza peel, little bit of that semola, not too much, and we're gonna slide this calzone right on the peel, and then if we need to, we can kind of adjust it. All right, now we're gonna go into our brick oven, and that's gonna take about 3 to 4 minutes to cook. Now, I previously made one of our other pizzas on the menu, and this is a Italian sausage pancetta pizza with some fresh mozzarella and basil. We're gonna finish this with a little bit of arugula, Parmesan, and we have a mascarpone cream sauce that we're gonna drizzle on top. Some nice arugula, a little peppery bite, and a little more of that garlic oil and black pepper. Okay, and we'll slide that on our pizza plate. And then you could see this beautiful light crust. It's very airy, it's a little bit chewy. And that's what we love about this pizza here. All right, now we're gonna go to our calzone. Let's check the calzone. It's starting to rise nicely. Okay, so what we're looking for some nice browning. The bottom is cooking very nicely. So now, with that beautiful bottom crust, we're gonna start holding this near the flame. The higher we hold it, the hotter it is. So right now the oven is at 625. The surface temperature is probably close to 700. And the ceiling or the roof of the pizza oven is probably close to 800. So the higher we go, the faster it's gonna cook. But we don't wanna go too fast because we wanna start to make sure we cook our pizza dough on the outside. And then as it's browning, we're gonna continue to turn it so we get nice and evenly brown all around. This is probably one of the harder stations to work, but I think the students have the most fun at this station. This is something that you're only gonna get it at this restaurant, but it's really fun to just, once they get the hang of it and they start kind of turning the pizzas, brick oven pizzas, Neapolitan style pizzas are becoming very popular today. A lot of restaurants are popping up. So we'll continue to turn it and get that really nice and even brown. And you can see it doesn't take very long. So now we're looking, our calzone looks great. We're gonna come over here and we're gonna finish it up. We have this is a sun-dried cherry tomato cream sauce. Oh. All right. All right. And then we're going to finish that with some fresh Parmesan. A little more olive oil and black pepper. You can hear that crust. And the one thing I love about this calzone is just that beautiful pockets of fresh ricotta that's in there. Some of the braised kale, and then you get that little bonus pizza right in front. So this is our calzone. Braised kale, fresh ricotta, mozzarella provolone, quattro formaggio, and our Italian sausage and pancetta pizza here at Thrive. All right, so well, these are some of our current plates. This is my lab assistant, Lloyd. He's working on another calzone. He put these plates together for us today. These are our current plates at our restaurant. So over here we have a braised short rib, very tender, juicy, on top of some homemade ricotta gnocchi, smoked tomato fondue, a little garlic crumble, and a white truffle emulsion. Over here we have an artichoke and ricotta croquette, something crispy, on a bed of butter braised spring vegetables, watercress and almond velouté, and dehydrated Kalamata olive. And this is one of our entrees. This is a oat and herb crusted beef strip loin, a little crepinette of beef, which is a sausage wrapped and glazed in the oven, red wine sauce. We also have a little pickled sorghum and some Parmesan barley risotto. And we take some of the beef fat and we smoke it, and we use that to glaze our cabbage here. And we do a smoked fat glazed cabbage. So we'll take it back to Chef McGrill and Ashley.
Holy cow, was that amazing. The dishes down there, Chef Bucci and Lloyd produced some stuff. I wish that you could be here to smell it, taste it, but it's not that bad that you're not here, because that means more for us. So I think we could have got some of those plates sent up here to us, Ashley.
I think I'm going to go down after this and get some more to eat.
Sounds like a good idea.
Well, we had some questions come through, Chef.
Oh, cool.
And I want to start out by talking about the overall look of the degree here.
So the college degree, a lot of people say like, oh, I want to go to culinary school. I probably don't have to take English or math or anything like that. But this is a college degree, right? So you still got to take those college classes. And since we're a 2-year associate degree, that means 5 general education. So those are like your sociology, psychology, a business class, English, math, things like that. You have to take these 5 classes in order to get the full degree. Okay. Outside of that, about 75% of the classes you take are really hands-on cooking, baking, butchering, ice carving, right? All the things that you're going to be working as a team or independently actually creating something. That other 25%, those are your lecture classes, something like sanitation, purchasing, supervision, where the instructor really kind of lectures more. Maybe you do some group projects together or group activities, but it's really kind of the traditional classroom type of thing. With COVID, yeah, it changed a little bit today. Our lecture classes, during the COVID time, our lecture classes were all done online, and all of our hands-on classes were done face-to-face, just wearing masks.
Awesome. And then what if a student just wants to do the pastry aspect, or what if they just want to do the hot foods? Do they have to do the whole degree?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, we get asked that all the time. I only want to be a pastry chef, or I only want to be a restaurant chef, or I only want to be a caterer, right? And we could offer degrees that are just specific for those different parts of the industry. But you know, for me, I went to culinary school a long time ago. And when I went to school, we took all of it, right? And at the time, I didn't know if I wanted anything to do with pastries and baking. I just kind of wanted more cooking and restaurant chef. But I'm glad that we got to take all of it as a program, because as a chef, the more skills I have in my own chef toolbox makes me more valuable to the industry, right? You might be at a restaurant that's smaller that doesn't have a pastry kitchen or a private pastry chef or a baker or make their own breads. Maybe they can't do that because they don't have space for it. So if I can't have that position, I better learn how to do it myself, or I have to have a vendor that I'm paying to do it. So with our program, it's really good. The students take all of it, and it makes them a well-rounded culinarian, which is really makes them more valuable to get a job or become an owner someday too.
And then what is the overall cost of our program now? So
the cost of the program, you know, you might, if you're looking at different culinary schools around the United States, you'll see the cost really varies depending on where you're going to, you know, where your interests might be. JJC, because we're a community college program, our costs are actually a lot lower than a lot of the private or big name schools might be. But the difference is we use all the same textbooks for the most part, right? We have all the same outcomes. We're accredited by the American Culinary Federation. And so because of that, we have to meet the same educational standards to be accredited. So every school that's accredited school has to meet those same standards, which means we teach the same things. What sets us apart is the facility, amazing, right? $58 million building, and the instructors we have, master chefs, people that are on TV, Food Networks, people that worked with the White House, people that are board directors and things, you know, a lot of really great experience working here. So when you put all that together, you think, well, it's probably pretty expensive. It's actually not, right? The cost of a private school, you could pay anywhere from $60,000 to $90,000 for the 2-year degree. JJC, about $18,000. So much more economical. And when you take into, you know, let's just say how much you might make in a year, right? $18,000, I would bet pretty much any part-time job you're gonna get would pay off your entire college degree here. So that makes it pretty, you know, pretty good value on top of pretty prestigious and accomplished program.
All right, so talking about jobs, the student asked, what kind of job will I get after the program and how much will I make?
That's a, you know, really good question, right? Everybody wants to know, how much am I gonna earn, right? But, you know, I guess we always say it's kind of like anything. If you want to be a basketball player, right? You want to be a professional NFL football player. Everybody might want to be, and you might have a lot of kids that play sports in elementary school or high school. The ones who really commit, the ones who really practice and really train, they're going to do better. You want to be a musician, right? Picking up the guitar once a week, once a month is not going to get you there. You got to practice, 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 right? Or a carpenter, somebody that wants to be a good carpenter. You have to really work with those tools and that wood to really create a beautiful masterpiece. Culinary is the same way. If you work hard, you will get a better job. If you practice, 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 you will accomplish more, and that means make more money too. So we have students that, you know, I maybe put some time in, I maybe practice, right? You know how it is. You got some students that try, some students that don't. The ones that don't, when they get out, they're probably going to get a job as a line cook or a bakery cook, something on the lines of that, where they're really working more of that line hourly wage. Other students who do really great in the program, who work really hard to accomplish and practice their skills at home, they're going to get better jobs out there. You know, for the most part, every job you get when you get out of here, a business is going to want to try you out first to see, because to them, you're a graduating culinary student, or maybe you're still in culinary school. So they want to put you in a station, see how you work, and if you work hard, you're responsible, you show up on time, and you really listen and do a good job, you'll make your way up that chain pretty quick. So it really is something that depends on the person. I think that's the big thing. The ones that really try hard will definitely do much, much better and get better positions for sure.
Yeah. And then you touched on a little bit about the pandemic, but how is that affecting our industry? And also, how are we doing classes here?
Yeah, you know, the pandemic obviously really surprised everybody, right? In March, when the pandemic hit in the United States, in Chicago, especially here where we are located in Illinois, in March, it was all of a sudden, there were the numbers were going up. And so our governor shut the schools down in the middle of March. It just so happened with our school, we were 8 weeks into the semester, which means spring break time. So we got shut down the day spring break started. So bad time for things, but in a way, kind of a good time, because it gave us a week to recoup, figure out what we were going to do. And then we took an extra week. The college president said, let's take an extra week, so we'll give a 2-week spring break, just so we can really figure out how to do things safe here. And then this college really rallied around it. So they brought electrostatic sprayers that we used in all of our kitchens and spaces. We wore masks. Ashley and I are far apart right now, obviously, so there's no need for the mask, and we're in a huge kitchen with ventilation systems on top of that. But we were separated. All of our kitchens, as you saw on the tour, you're going to see in different spaces here, are huge. Students are automatically separated on a daily basis anyway. In the restaurant industry, we sanitize, we wash our hands, we keep things clean, we run dish machines with sanitizing solution in it. We wash the tables and chairs down at the end when a customer gets up with sanitizing solution. We don't just do that because of COVID. We just do it because it's the restaurant industry, right? We're licensed by the health department to maintain a safe, sanitary, clean environment. So for our students, the good thing is we teach and certify them in sanitation very first semester. So the things that restaurants have to do to be safe, our students learn that and get certified in their very first 4 months of the program. So that part didn't have to change. The only thing that really changed for us is wearing the mask. We're already social distanced in beautiful, gigantic kitchens. Everybody has their own cookware, their own cooking spaces, pots and pans. And then, we sanitize and clean and wash all day anyway. So the only thing really different for us is a mask. So our lecture classes, because we would have people sitting together, those we've done online. Lab classes, we're just in our social distance setting of a big giant kitchen, and we're able to keep things going. When we look at the industry, that part, the restaurant hospitality industry was the hardest hit during this pandemic, and we've seen that on every TV show and news station, right? And it's terrible for a lot of our graduates that are working in the industry. There's been, a lot of heartache that they had a restaurant that maybe had to close for months, or maybe restaurants that closed for good. The good thing is our industry is one that will never stop, right? We all want to go out to eat. Ashley, you and I were just talking a couple minutes ago, we can't wait to go on vacation, right? So as people want to get out of their house, we're all stuck indoors right now. We're eating our own food. We want other people's food. So we can't wait for a restaurant to open up so we can go out to eat with friends. We can't wait for restaurants and bars and vacation spots and all those things to really happen so we can go out and enjoy time together once again, right? We're missing that stuff. So for our industry, it's a setback because we're an industry that takes care of people and we love closeness of our customers. So we had to take a step back for that. But once this pandemic has passed us, which is, a good day coming down the road, it's going to be bigger and better, and we're going to have an incredible surge in our restaurant hospitality industry worldwide, not just here.
Yeah, awesome. So you guys can keep the questions coming. We'll answer them in the chat. But Chef McGrill, are you headed to your next location now?
Ashley, I think we've seen a lot of things here. I think it might be time for some dessert. So I'm going to take a trip to the 4th floor. I'm going to leave you down here, and we'll talk to you in a little bit.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Ashley.
You're welcome.
Well, thanks, Ashley. Here we are in an amazing part of the facility. This is a really cool room, something that you don't see really almost anywhere. This is a climate and humidity controlled chocolate and sugar pastry lab. These tables, solid granite, 2 inches thick. Each tabletop is 2,000 pounds. You should have seen the construction workers bringing these in when they delivered the tables. 6 guys carrying straps trying to get these things in. When they put it in the freight elevator, it dropped like 6 inches to get them up to this floor. Beautiful tops, but we put these granite or stone tops in here because the surface always feels cool to the touch. Sugar and chocolate love that cold surface like that. These are actually different than maybe granite you would get in your home, where you have to seal it and treat it all the time to keep it from being porous and gathering bacteria. These are polymeric sealed from the start, so we never have to seal them. All we do is clean and sanitize like we do every surface in every single kitchen. In here you can see we have electric cords that drop down from the ceiling, so the students can plug in their warming lamps that they might work with to melt sugar, to work on their sugar work, or to melt chocolate, things like that. Here is a really cool thing. These actually are tempering machines. You can see white chocolate and dark chocolate flowing out of here right now. Right? I know what you're thinking. You want to get down there and take a big gulp of chocolate, but no, not in this kitchen. Right? This has about 30 pounds of dark chocolate and 30 pounds of white chocolate in there. And what this machine does is this isn't like a Hershey bar where it's not 100% real cocoa chocolate. This is the really good stuff. So what this does is it melts it, it keeps it at a perfect temperature, and then it recycles it. Inside here, it's churning and turning like a washing machine would. And that mixes and keeps the oils inside the cocoa, right? The cocoa butter inside that cocoa. And then this sends it out as a perfect stream. We have a conveyor belt we can put across here and a waterfall attachment so we can put, like, say, chocolate truffles or bonbons. on the conveyor, and they go under, and this waterfall, like a car wash, coats them beautifully in chocolate. This is a pretty cool machine, right from Italy. If you see down this way, this is where the instructor would actually do their demonstrations, right? So you have the TVs up above that are faced on the granite surface down below. And so the chef instructor, from where you're at right now, if I was teaching this class and I was back here, you can see my hands as I'm working on the table. You can see everything I'm working on. So it's great for the students to be able to see the work surface from the TV, but they're cameras that we can change and move anywhere we want. If we want to have it on my face, have it down below, have it show the whole table, or just a real tiny bit maybe where a pot is cooking on a burner, we can do anything here. And every one of our kitchens have that technology, which is pretty incredible. We're going to take you back over this way. You'll see, if you look actually here, I'll show you, this is a spray booth. Inside there, we'll put chocolate sculptures or sugar things in there, and we can actually spray them with a cocoa butter spray that coats them, almost like bringing your car to get a brand new coat of paint on your car. And then I'll show you over here. You're going to see Chef Andy Shalbana in here in a few minutes, but for right now, you can see this is all chocolate that he made. All of these are chocolate that are sprayed with a cocoa butter spray, almost like paint, but it's edible paint. They're all sprayed and full chocolate sculpture and molded. This is all sugar work that are up on the top shelf. These ones are chocolate with sugar. You can see the flowers all made out of sugar. This is different forms of sugar work, from pulled sugar and blown sugar, and the flour made of where they pulled the petals out of sugar, right? Really beautiful. And even things like back here, you can see some stuff that Chef Andy and his students are working on. Like, for instance, look at these two beautiful books, right? They look kind of maybe like something from Harry Potter or something like that. These are actually solid chocolate, right? It's white chocolate and dark chocolate for the covers, and then they're using that cocoa butter paint that they almost made like a suede cover on the book. You can see, pretty cool looking, huh? So they make amazing things in these classes, and the students get to learn from an instructor who's been on the Food Network, who's been on different TV shows competing. You can Google his name and see he's won a few different shows, and I'm sure there's probably more in the future that we're going to hear about. But this is going to be Chef Andy Shalbana, one of our pastry chef instructors, and this is the chocolate sugar lab that you're going to see him doing a demo in just a second. All right, Chef Andy Shalbana.
Thanks, Chef McGrill. Hi, everyone. I'm Chef Andy Shalbana. We're up in our chocolate and sugar lab here at Joliet Junior College. And today, I'm going to show you some components of how to make this small room service amenity size showpiece, really focusing on the flour and some really simple, basic techniques that you can do with chocolate, and you can apply it to other foods as well. Just to kind of show you a way to take something that's flat and give it a little pop and make it look a little different than we started out with. One of the things that I use to assemble the showpiece is a paper cornet. So I think that's important to see how to put that together first. And to make the cornet, what I do is I take a piece of parchment paper and I cut that in half. So now I have two sheets, and then I'm just going to cut that in half diagonally again. And what I tell my students to do is to make the parchment paper look like mountains. And that way it gives you a cone that you can roll, and you don't need to use any tape to hold it together, because tape really doesn't like to hold onto the paper. So then I take the paper in my hand and I hold it across from the point, and I twist that down. And then we call this piece here the tail, and we bring the tail around. And I've got a cone, but I've got a really big tip, right? So everything's going to leak out of here. So all I do is I pull this piece straight back, and it closes. And then I've got what I need as I go to build my showpiece. So it's always important to have all your tools and equipment ready to go before you start your process. The piece that I'm doing today, I use these silicone molds that we have here at the college, and I like the little bit of texture it's going to give the chocolate, and I'll show you a really neat little trick to make that piece pop. But you could even just spread this out on parchment paper and using round cutters or cookie cutters, cut out different shapes, and then use the chocolate to glue them together to create a little stand to display some of your pastries. And for the base piece that I have here, I did exactly that. I poured the chocolate out and I cut it with a large round cutter. And when I poured the chocolate out, I poured this onto a fluorescent light cover. You can get it at any hardware store. They're food safe, it's okay. And when I pour the chocolate on there, it picks up the pattern of the light cover. And to just make that pop a little bit more, what I did on my little piece over here is I take a very soft makeup brush and I take this copper color. This is food grade color. Be careful because there's a lot of luster dusts out there in different colors for cakes that are not food grade. So this, if somebody were to pick this up and eat it, we don't have to worry about them getting sick because of metals being in there that would then forever be inside their body. But you can really see the difference between the two. This is just the chocolate on the one side and then the copper dust, and it kind of changes it. And to me, it makes people look at the piece and go, wow, that's chocolate too, because it starts to take on a metallic look. So I just brush that on the bottom piece and the top plates that the cookies are on. Now, the only fancy tool that I use to make the flour is a sphere mold. So from these we get half spheres, and then I glue them together. The gluing process is pretty simple. Let me just grab a warm pan here. This pan doesn't need to be hot. Anything flat works. I really like to build my pieces using things that I have in my kitchen already, because I spend a lot of money on equipment the other way, and then I have nowhere to store it. So if I do this, I can cook in this and do the same thing. So it's warmed up just from the heat of the pilot light. And then I piece these together and set them back into the mold. And you could leave these spheres out if you wanted to. You would just need to go back and put something in the center. You could even pipe a large disc of chocolate or cut it out and place it in there after it's brushed or something, just to kind of cover up the center where everything connects to make it look a little bit cleaner. So to assemble the sphere, I need these little pieces. They're cast, and we use the dome molds because we have them, but you could just use a flat piece as well. And then I'm going to use one of the small spheres and one of the larger spheres and a heat gun. If you're going to do any kind of chocolate work, a heat gun is a great tool to have because we can use it to keep our chocolate warm while we're working with it. We can use it to melt pieces. We can even have fun in melting so they look semi-melted. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to use my small offset palette knife here to just warm this up a little bit and then warm up the bottom of the sphere. And then just take the smallest dot of chocolate, put it on here. To speed things up a little bit for the demo purposes, I use cold spray. Normally I don't like to use cold spray because it shocks the chocolate, but for this, it actually helps me so I can build the piece a little bit faster. Then I'll do the same thing, and I'm going to place the larger sphere on top of the smaller sphere. And then glue that on as well. The reason I put the smaller sphere on the bottom is so I can get my hands underneath to assemble the flour, and then when it actually comes time to put the flour together, I'll show you later with the finished one how I pick it up. So we'll switch over here so you can see the next step. And then in the next step, I have the same piece that I just made. That piece, even though I sprayed it with the cold spray, the chocolate's not going to quite be crystallized all the way or set. The chocolate really doesn't dry. We try not to use that term. But once I know that it's really set, and this I made a few hours ago, I can do a lot of things with this, including just pick it up and not have to worry about it falling apart, because sometimes that chocolate's a little fudgy. So then what I would do is take this and dip it into a container. I'm not going to do it now because it makes a big mess, and we'll use the magic of TV to skip to the next step, but I dip this down. And why do I dip it down? Because there's these seams around the sides that I'm going to cover up after I dip it. And then by dipping it and letting the chocolate set again, I really solidify the connections here, so that way this piece won't break, because we're always fighting gravity on a showpiece, and the texture of the chocolate after dipping versus molding. On the molded piece, you can see there's some shine left. On this piece, it's a little bit flat. And it actually gives me a better texture to glue my petals onto for the next step. And the petals are done simply using, again, nothing fancy. A paring knife, which you probably have. If you don't have a paring knife, you could use a small offset. If you want to make a larger flower, you could always go to a larger offset. I have a sheet of acetate here. You can also use parchment paper for this. And then a little flower petal shaping form. You could use a piece of PVC for this. I've even used deli containers in a pinch when I need something just a little bit larger. And to use this, I take a wet towel and then I stick my acetate down. The purpose of the water, this is a dry towel now, the purpose of the water is so when I dip the knife to form the petal, the acetate doesn't jump off. And then I use my finger to mark where the edge of the acetate's at. And then all I'm going to do is take my knife through the chocolate, clean the back, press it down, lift it up, and slide it back. And I don't want to press all the way down to the bottom, because if I do, I lose this little ridge that I'm forming on the petal, which is actually going to give it strength. A lot of building with chocolate is the same as some of the techniques you would use in engineering any other structure like a house or a building. And if we have that ridge come up the back, it's very similar to having a beam sitting this way in construction. And then we take the acetate before it sets, place it in the mold, and let it set for 20 to 30 minutes. After the chocolate sets, we can just peel it off the acetate. And then the petals are ready. Here I already have the center of the flower with petals already arranged on it. And see how I told you earlier, I'd be able to pick this up with no problem? I have big hands, right? So I need to be able to get in there. These are delicate. If I hit one of these while I try to pick it up, it's gonna break off before the flower even lifts up. So I know I can always move this piece and then I can pop it onto the rest of my showpiece this way. When I start placing the petals on here, I need to keep a couple things in mind. I need to keep the size of the center of the flower in mind, and then how many petals I want to space around the outside. And that'll change depending on the size of the knife you use. For this size sphere, I go with 6 petals, and I'm not trying to fill in all the gaps as I come around. What I'm trying to do is space them evenly, because when I put this next set on, I'm going to fill in those gaps. And to attach the petals, all I'm going to do is take some of my tempered chocolate over here, dip the petal in, go in between the previous petal, and then spray a little cold spray, and it sticks. Now, when you use cold spray, you need to be kind of careful, because if I spray it too long, it'll freeze all the chocolate. When I bring my next petal over, it's going to touch and it's going to fall off, which happens sometimes. And sometimes it helps to build multiple flowers at the same time, so that way you can put one petal on each one. And if you create a system for yourself while you're working, you always know that the petal goes in the same spot. So on mine, my petals are at about 11 o'clock. So then I turn the base again. And I know the next petal goes in there. And then you just keep bringing it around until you get back to the beginning where you started. And then if you wanted to keep adding layers of petals, you could, and your flower would get really, really big. And chocolate is so strong. It's a pretty strong little treat for you to eat. And it's amazing sometimes what it can hold up and what it can do. And then that's 6 petals on for the next round. Now, I don't want to pick this up and toss it around the way I was doing earlier because that chocolate's not really set all the way. So I want to give this a chance for the chocolate to really crystallize and get set. After it crystallizes, I take it over to my spray booth and I have a small airbrush, and out of that airbrush we spray fat-soluble cocoa butter colors that are mixed with a little bit of cocoa butter, and we just spray it on. And the piece over here, I sprayed it first with bronze and a little bit of red. It kind of looks like Iron Man, depending how heavy you leave the bronze showing out. And it just kind of gives it a little bit different look again, to the point where you go, is that really chocolate? And the little petals that I made for the flower are great because, yeah, you can make a flower out of them. But a lot of times, this is secondary to what we do. The first thing I need to do is figure out how to make pastries, because there really aren't a lot of jobs out there where I can make showpieces. But what I do is I take a lot of these showpiece techniques and introduce them in my intro class as ways to garnish desserts. So you can take 2 of these little curls and just tack them together with a little bit of chocolate. And then if you got a chocolate raspberry dessert, place a raspberry on there. So it gives you something a little interesting. It's something that, and we can add to a dessert and add value to the dessert, and also make it look like somebody with skills done it, because chocolate's normally flat and we bend it and we try to do all different fun things with it. Now, the other technique I'm going to show you today is the little white chocolate squiggles. Sorry, I'm going to show you the little white chocolate squiggles that come off the back. And these are really fun to make the squiggles. And then I'm going to take a little bit of white chocolate in that cornet I made. And then I'm just going to pipe it into the alcohol. And as it goes in, as soon as it hits, it sets up. And it creates almost like a branch. And you can change the way it looks depending on how hard you squeeze and how high you hold the tip of the bag over the liquid. That one's a little thicker, so it's going to take a little bit longer. You could even do rings. So that when I piped and squeezed a little bit harder. And that works with white milk or dark chocolate. You can really mix it up a little bit. This one's kind of fun too. Again, something you just set on top of a dessert, a little Rosetta cream, and angle it up to give the dessert a little bit more volume. But here I just used it as some vines to create a little more life behind I use it to create some vines to create a little bit more life behind the flower instead of just having a flower stuck on a flat surface. And those are the chocolate techniques I have to share with you today. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us. Thanks so much for watching.
Here we are in one of our pastry baking labs. So when you think of the different types of labs we had, you're going to see in this tour today, you're going to see a chocolate sugar lab with granite tops to keep the chocolate and sugar in a cool surface and to be able to work warm chocolate on that stone surface. And then in this kind of kitchen, you can still do things like chocolate work, but because we're in a different environment that's not climate controlled and humidity controlled like our chocolate lab is here, this is a lab that's great for doing things like breads and cakes and cookies and things like that, more of the bakery type of items. In this kitchen, you can see they have 3-inch solid maple tops. This is solid all the way through, and induction burners on top. This is an amazing technology that uses a magnet and a magnetic bottom in the bottom of your pots, that when your pot goes on it, it turns it on. You take your pot off and it turns it off. So you can throw your car keys on there. You can put a book on there. It's never going to turn on, never going to start on fire. But when you put a pot with a magnetic bottom on it, it automatically triggers the switch and turns it on. But this station, from this burner to this mixer, the top, the shelves, the stool, these shelves here for their cakes, this is one student station. That would be a second one over there, a third one here, and a fourth one here. So around this giant island is going to be 4 students, 4 back on that station, 4 on this station, and 4 on here. And then the front station here, this is where the chef instructor would actually do their demonstration. Above the chef instructor would be beautiful TVs again, so the students can actually watch from the camera, see the instructor's hands, or see what's on the cutting boards or things like that, so they can actually see that technology down below. But then they have the commercial bakery side at this end. This is where things like their ovens are here that are a deck oven. And so rather than at home where you turn your oven on 350 maybe to bake something, here they have to set the percentage of humidity, so the moisture in the oven. So like a crispy, crusty bread likes moisture. It doesn't make sense because you think if there's moisture in the air, the bread would get soggy, you would think, but it's just the opposite. The steam and moisture makes the bread extra crispy. When there's no moisture, you get a bread like a soft white bread, like a sandwich bread that you might have, where it's really soft, right? No crusty edge. But an Italian or French baguette, that would have moisture to create that crispy surface. And then here, this is where they make their dough, and we could make things like, let's say we want to make bagels for tomorrow. We'll make our dough, shape our bagels, put them on one of these big racks, and we can actually roll it into here and put it on and set a timer so that it starts to make the dough rise at whatever time I want it to, right? Once it's risen, maybe I get in the morning, it's already perfectly risen, then I can go to this oven and I can open the door and I can take my rack out of there, wheel my rack right into here. You can see I have one in right now. And I can just turn it in, close the door, and then this, when I close it, it lifts the rack up and the rack spins so I have even baking. Really cool piece of equipment, right? We always say it looks like a vault at a safe at a bank, right? So this kitchen is an amazing bakery kitchen. We have 2 of these on this floor so that we have 16 students in this bakery kitchen and 16 in the other bakery kitchen. And then we'll have a group of 12 students that'll be in the chocolate sugar lab. So this 4th floor, just baking and pastry and sugar art. So every floor has got kind of a theme in a way. But this could be your spot. I'll save one here for you. So after our bakery kitchen here, we're gonna go back to Ashley 2, see what's going on, see some more spots in the building, and hopefully we'll see your face here at Joliet Junior College Culinary Arts. Thanks a lot.
Thanks so much, Chef McGrill. That looked amazing, and I hope that you all enjoyed our day here for our first ever virtual culinary open house. If you guys could all just take a minute and fill out the form that is in the description, you'll be entered into our raffle, and we'll also be able to send you some more information about our culinary arts department here at the college. Fall classes start August 23rd. Hope to see you guys all soon. Thanks so much.
The award-winning and highly respected Culinary Arts program at Joliet Junior College provides world-class learning and hands-on experience that cover all aspects of the culinary industry. Accredited by the American Culinary Federation Education Foundation, JJC's Culinary Arts program provides training for future chefs, pastry chefs, bakers, caterers, restaurant and food service managers, and entrepreneurs. Students learn by working on the latest equipment in state-of-the-art facilities that were built in 2017. JJC's City Center campus features 2 fully functional student-run restaurants that provide students with the ultimate in both back-of-house and front-of-house learning experiences. The Culinary Arts faculty is composed of full-time, multi-certified culinary and hospitality industry instructors with a combined total of over 140 years of industry experience. JJC currently offers an associate degree in culinary arts and 3 baking and pastry arts certificates. Students pursuing a certificate or degree in the Culinary Arts program will learn the relevant skills needed to eventually become a supervisor, manager, or business owner in the culinary and hospitality industry. Visit jjc.edu/journey for more information.